Hello, it's Delegate Huff here for our weekly update. This week the governor gave his State of the State address, and one of the items he talked about was gun control. Now, for those of us who are opposed to further limits on our Second Amendment rights, the question has to be asked, what actions will you take to prevent tragedies like what happened up in Newtown? And first, let me say, we all weep for those children who were murdered by that psychopath up in Newtown. Now, putting further restrictions on our guns is not the answer. In fact, Connecticut had some of the strictest gun laws in the country. In fact, what Martin O'Malley has proposed, an assault weapon ban, licensing of guns, that was already law in Connecticut. But what has been the issue time and time again with these mass shootings is there have been young men who are seriously psychologically deranged. And for some reason or another, they have not received the treatment that they need. And so let's go back into history and see, how did we get to this problem? How did we get where we're at today? Well, back in the 50s and 60s, when people had psychological problems, they were committed. And most people were in mental hospitals. Now, I'm not saying that was a good system. In fact, that system had a lot of problems. And those who've seen the movie One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, who read the book, can sympathize that warehousing these individuals, a lot of times they were mistreated, there were a lot of problems in there, and that wasn't a good solution. So they made the decision, starting again back in the 60s and 70s, and it's continued through to this day, to close mental hospitals and put these folks in the community. But the pendulum has swung so far that unless somebody in the state of Maryland presents an immediate danger to themselves or others, they cannot get treatment. So for a mother or father, they oftentimes have the difficult choice of, when they have a young man or woman who's living in their house, their child who's mentally deteriorating, if they take them to the hospital, they're turned away. If they call the police say, well, they're not a danger to themselves or others, so we can't take them. So the choice becomes, do they live with a child who is deteriorating and could become dangerous, or does the person go live on the streets and become homeless? And so many times when we walk through big cities, we see it constantly. People who have mental problems, who are homeless, they end up in our jails. Our chiefs and our sheriffs have all spoken out that this has become a major issue and a major safety problem. So the solution should be that we need to widen what it takes to have somebody committed, widen the standard, just past danger to themselves or others. So what I'm introducing legislation which will say if somebody is gravely disabled and unable to make informed decisions on their own because they have a serious psychological issue, they can at that point be involuntarily committed. And I think because if we do that, these people will then get the treatment they will need, and they will not end up so many times doing dangerous acts, ending up in jail, ending up homeless. So there's a huge fiscal cost to this, but there's also, the bigger issue is a big human cost. Because it says something about us as a society, how we treat the least among us. Many of the times, those people who we see living on the streets, who have mental problems, that's somebody's brother, somebody's uncle, somebody's friend. So in the next 90 days, this is something that I'm going to be working on. I think it's been a large problem. The terrible Newtown tragedy has highlighted it. And I look forward to your feedbacks and comments. There was already a story this week in the Frederick News Post, and we had a lot of great feedback from our constituents about it. So until next week, have a blessed week.